Hey everyone, welcome to tonight's call. Today we're going to be talking about values. And values are incredibly important. And we wanted to spend the time to do this. This is probably at this point, as you've been noticing, we are layering and layering and layering each week as we go. So we started off with awareness, and really all that is about is just watching what's happening. And then as we move through that, start to identify the stories, the question starts to come, well, okay, now I see the things I'm doing in my life. It's annoying me. It's frustrating me. I'm feeling more of these emotions. What do I do about it? And, how do I stop it? And now we're moving into connection. And connection really is where we start to connect with those emotions and to connect with who we are. And we did last week, we discovered all about the heart and about what it feels like to connect into the heart. This is going to be absolutely vital. By the way, did anyone get a chance to do a meditation throughout the week? Andre? Cass? No? You guys saw the link I posted, which was the meditation at the end of last week. And Andre, you ended up making that work. You said there was an issue with that. It seemed to be fine for me. Okay, cool. Let's get that, Simon. I'll post that again. But what I think we might do is follow on from that and start off with a really quick meditation now. Because talking about values is not something that you can think about. It's something that you must feel and allow. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be really nice, and it's going to be an opportunity to just chill out and relax for 5 minutes, and to just allow the day to drop away. And just to come back to this space, this collective space. So when you guys are ready, just allow your eyes to close, get into a nice comfortable position. It's only going to be 5 minutes. And I really want to show you that the more you do this, the easier it gets. And also that it doesn't have to take half an hour to meditate. It can really just take 5 minutes. And just allow your eyes to close down. And just notice your breath as it moves on its own. That's it. And you might just like to bring your attention and focus to maybe some of the sounds that you can hear around you. And as you hear the sounds, just attach no meaning or story to those sounds. Just allow them to just play like music. And I just want you to bring your attention and your focus down into the area of your chest where your heart is. And just focus in that space as you continue to breathe deeply in through the nose, all the way down into the belly and then up into the chest, and just letting go through the mouth. Just continue focusing on your heart. And you might start to notice a sensation in the area of your chest, an energy, a filling with every in-breath. You might notice a sensation, a shape, a color, or not. And if any thoughts, pecking thoughts come, try and hook your attention. Just acknowledge them. Pay no attention to them. And just watch them drift away as you bring your attention back to that space. Take a moment now just to invite somebody that you love into this space. And you can see them standing before you in a place that you're familiar with. And a time that you're familiar with, an experience that you shared with them of overwhelming love. See what you saw and feel what you felt and hear what you heard, and really just feel that feeling of overwhelming, total, unconditional love. And just reach out with your left hand to that volume knob and just turn it all the way up to 10. Turn up the colors and turn up the sound, and just really turn up the feelings of total, overwhelming, and unconditional love. This is connecting with yourself. This is the truth. This is the place to make decisions. This is the place of intuition and love and gratitude. This is the place you want to live. And it's by visiting frequently and often enough throughout the day that you can start to extend the time that you stay in this space. This is your access, your pathway into the unconscious, where the things previously hidden from you or hidden by you are revealed to be examined. Take a deep breath in, feel that heart one more time. When you're ready, you can open up your eyes, just continuing to stay in that space, knowing that nothing in your waking life can change or alter that state. And with that, we'll kind of just move straight into talking about values. How's that? So you love values, and you talk a lot about values. So why don't we share a bit about values?
Understanding my values was one of probably one of the most surprising and telling activities that I did when I kind of started all of this work a couple of years ago. Without sort of going into it too much, because we'll get there and we can talk about it more afterwards, I had I had some very strong values and things that I felt I really put a lot of importance on in my life. And what I didn't realize was that there was actually a conflicting side to that and a conflicting part to that. I feel like I don't want to say too much.
Well, what are values? Why don't we start there? Values, everything we've been talking about the unconscious mind, the decisions that we made, the beliefs that we have, the emotions, the memories, they're all stored in the unconscious. We know that now. And we also know how powerful the unconscious mind is, and that the unconscious mind is the unconscious mind is what really dictates and determines how we live life and the things that we get. And your values are really a collection of those beliefs, a collection of that that forms the framework for how you live life. And we'll ask this question: how can people do bad things? Are there people out there who could do something that for you and I would seem absolutely impossible? For instance, murdering someone, or something even more horrific, or robbing a bank, or committing genocide. How can there be people who do those things, and then there's us, who, for us, the thought of that is so unbelievably out of the question that we could not even wrap our heads around it. It's values. It's value systems. You got a guy who grew up in the rough side of town with a single mum whose dad left before he was born, and he goes through life watching man after man come through the door with his mum who drinks a lot of alcohol and takes drugs. And in his search for a father figure, goes out at when he's 9 years old and finds a gang, and finds for the first time a sense of belonging that he's ever felt, a sense of family that he's never felt, and moves into the gang. And in order to become part of the gang, he has to accept a certain value system. He has to adopt a certain value system, and it's based on loyalty and loyalty and toughness and strength and dishonesty in some ways. But the value system is set up within the gang to support the gang. So when it comes time for him to be initiated and they say to him that you need to kill a person, for him it aligns with the value system that he has, that the gang has. So for him, because the value system is set up in that structure, it's not a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? You ever heard that saying, there's honor among thieves? It's because the value system is created from within the structure. And that's the same goes for a gang, it goes for a family, it goes for a religion, it goes for a culture, community, right? And it also goes for individuals. So, for anyone else, someone who was brought up in a loving family, with a family who taught honesty and love and gratitude as values, then killing someone it's so far against that set of values that it feels almost impossible for someone to do that, growing up in that situation. So quite simply, your values in the way they've been set up until now determine what you've got in your life right now. So you can look around at your life and your life situation and the things that you have and the experiences you've had, the relationships you've had, okay,
the decisions you've
made, what it all looks like now, what your bank account looks like, how you feel on the inside. And it can all be explained and understood through looking at your values. Because like I said in the Facebook post, you cannot create anything in your life that doesn't align with your values. Think about that for a second. It doesn't matter what you consciously want. It doesn't matter if you want to lose weight. It doesn't matter if you want to make $1 million. It doesn't matter if you want to find the love of your life. It doesn't matter what you want, because if your value system is set up in a way that doesn't allow you to have that or to experience what you would need to experience to have that, then it's just simply not going to happen. And who's ever been caught in that place where there's something that you really want and you really, really want it, and it's painful that you don't have it, and you do anything to get it, and you do anything to get it, but you feel like there's something pulling you back and holding you back, whether it's losing weight or getting fit or making money or changing careers or a relationship. Has anyone ever experienced that? Like an unknown force is holding you back, or that you just can't do it? No. When I work with people on helping them quit smoking using NLP, the way someone successfully quits smoking is not by trying to quit. It's very clear when someone has tried to quit smoking, is trying to quit smoking, because all they are is a smoker who's trying to quit smoking, a smoker who's trying not to smoke, and you can pick them a mile away, right? Do you want a cigarette? No, I'm trying to quit, is the answer. In order for someone to successfully quit smoking, what needs to happen is a total shift in value systems, which means a person has to go from the identity of a smoker to an identity of a non-smoker. Because who here is a non-smoker? Right, if you're a non-smoker, everyone here is a non-smoker. If I offer you a cigarette, what do you say? No. It's not difficult for you to say no. It's not, oh, I really shouldn't. It's just no. And why do you say no like that? Why is it so easy to say no? Because you're a non-smoker. So it's not difficult for a non-smoker to say no. This is the power of these value systems, right? In the same way that it's someone who's trying to lose weight, and I talk about this a lot because that was my journey, my story. For years and years and years, the whole first 3/4 of my life, while I was dieting, it was about trying to lose weight. So I was a fat person who was trying to lose weight. And that's what my identity was. That means I had the low fat this, the low fat that. I was on the diet, I was on the scales, I was exercising. I was that person who was trying to lose weight. But that was the identity. That means that I will have that identity for the rest of my life. Unless I shift to change the identity, change the value system, so that I'm then just a person who takes care of themselves, for instance. So this is the power of values. And what we're going to do today is discover your values. So there's going to be something very valuable in today's session for you. And I don't know.
Sorry.
And I don't know when or.
That was a Simon joke.
Simon. Simon, mate, you've got to let us get away with those ones.
I had one call with you, and I've taken tips.
That's offensive to Simon.
No, it's not. But what am I? I'm saying anyway.
So there's something in this. Okay, there's something in this in today's call for you that's going to be very valuable. So I'd encourage you now to put on the treasure hunter cap and open up without expectation of what it is that you're going to find. But this is basically going to reveal to you why your life looks the way it looks. And if you can just understand or feel or experience one moment of that in this whole session, and go off and make changes based on that, your whole life will change. So I encourage you to look for that now. I don't know what it is, I don't know where it is, but you will find it as we go through this. Who's down? Hands up. Ready? All right, stay in that heart space. Remind yourself, when you start thinking and going up here, I want you to take some deep breaths. It's up to you now to control your state and stay down here. Okay? All right. We've got some pretty slides for you today. Values. Okay, so let's move through and let's see where we go. Grab your pen and notebook, and we're going to start by asking you some questions. So the first question that we're going to ask in order to elicit these values, remember, staying in the heart space, is very simple. And what we want is before this program, okay, before you started this program. Okay, so it's basically up until now, what has been important to you in life?
And when we're saying towards values, we're talking about the values that you're looking to have in your life, the values that you're working towards, the ones you're looking towards having. So what has been important up to now, what has been important to you in your life? So just get scribbling.
Yeah, so just write as many as you can, one on each line, preferably, or 2 columns, and just go. And I want you to write as many as you can until you kind of run out of words. And once you hit that first block, okay, where nothing else is flowing, I just want you to put the pen down and raise your hand. And once everyone's finished, we'll move on. Okay, so we just want you to write free flow, whatever comes up, till you hit that first block. Remember, try not to go into the thinking and searching. Just keep going until it stops flowing easily and you hit a block. Okay. All right, once you hit that first block, I'm going to ask you another question, which is, what else has been important to you in life? This time I want you to go a layer deeper. Ask that question to yourself, to your unconscious. What else has been important? And write whatever comes out now. If you hit another block, when you hit another block, I want you to ask yourself the question one last time, what else has been important in my life? All right. If anyone wants to share, you can go ahead and write. Actually, we'll do that a bit later. All right. Everyone done? What we're going to do next is to rank them. Okay, rank them. And what we want to do is discover the top 5. So a really easy way to do this is to go through your list and ask yourself the question, which of these values has been most important in my life? And just have a look down the list. And one easy way to do it is to match up 2 values, maybe starting with the top one, and match the top one up against each one down the list. All right. So you're looking at 2 values and you start to figure out which ones are in the top 5 and which ones aren't. And I want you to list them. Just put a number next to them from 1 to 5.
Is this out of both the lists or just one of the lists?
What do you mean both lists? Oh, all together.
Well, you said all together. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
all together. So just put them all together. Some of those deeper ones will be the really powerful ones. But just have a look through and rate them as best you can from 1 to 5. It can be difficult. And if you feel like it, if you've got time, if you want to, you can go ahead and continue the numbering all the way up to 10 or 12 or whatever you have, as long as we get the top 5. And just raise your hand when you're finished.
Very good, Simon. You've practiced that before.
Leanne's done. Andre, done? Cool. Go ahead and write them in the chat box real quick, 1 to 5. And this will be good because we'll get to hold on to the chat boxes.
Sorry, are we all writing in the chat box or just one person?
Just jot them down, 1 to 5 in the chat box. You won't be able to hit enter, so you just write them in a paragraph, 1 to 5. Great. Okay, Tony Ann. You've got security, happiness, love, respect, truth, open, honest, communication, connection. So I'll get you to bring those down so that they're just single values, because happiness is very different from love. Respect is very different from truth. Okay, so.
And then the best way to do that is just to ask yourself, what has been most important for you to feel, happiness or love? And which out of those two is stronger? Yes,
it's difficult to choose, but that's why it's difficult. Cass, honesty, compassion, integrity, love, kids, happy and successful, great. So I'm a discovery, adventure, fairness, fun, kindness, great. All right, next, what we're going to do is to go a little bit deeper on why they're important to you. Okay, so now what we want you to do is to take the top 3. We're just going to do the 3. We might even just do 2.
Yeah, let's do 2, just so that we can get through this.
And we're going to leave the other 3 to you to do as your task for the week. Okay, so I want you to write down that first one, number 1. So Simon, if you discovery, Tony Ann, security, Cass, honesty at the top. And then I'm going to ask you this question. I want you to do a little bit of free flow writing on this. Why is this value of discovery, security, honesty, why is that important to you? Okay. And we want to talk about why is that important. So while you're doing that, just meditate to the sound of our voice. Keep doing what you're doing. But
I'm going to share my my values, my old values. I'll share them in the next slide. You'll see that in a second. But they're my actual old values. And they're pretty interesting. And you'll see why. This was a huge exercise for me, guys. Pretty eye-opening. And I can honestly say that because of this one activity, my entire life changed.
So what was your top one?
My top one was, it's my way. Security was my number one. Absolute number one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we want to ask why is it important is because it reveals a whole lot about what we do with the values and why security can be a great thing, but how we can go about twisting it, and that comes from the reasons kind of why it's important to you.
Absolutely. And you'll understand in a moment, but the focus is the important part, what we're focusing on when it comes to whatever that top value is.
Cool.
All
Has
right.
everyone got that down for the top two? Thanks, Leanne. Love, honesty, respect, kindness, happiness.
Beautiful.
Okay, good. So, what we can start to understand or feel is when we ask the question, why is it important to you? And we look at the value of, say, security.
Let's do the next part of it.
Oh, thanks, Cass. It's important as it reflects who I am, what I would like to see in others. It's important for me to model it to my children. I don't believe in turning a blind eye. I'd rather speak my mind than see things go unsaid or ignored, especially if it's detrimental to others.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
That's perfect. So you're going to do that for the top two. And once you've done that, the next question is for both of those top two, what needs to happen for you to feel this?
So, Cass, for you to feel honesty, the value of honesty, what needs to happen for you to feel this? And Andrew as well. Honesty is number one for you, Andrew. So for security, Tony Ann, what has to happen for you? What needs to happen for you to feel secure or to feel security?
Right. And Simon, for you to feel that value of discovery is being fulfilled, what needs to happen in your life? You know, is it that you need to feel challenged? Is it that you need to feel like you're doing something new, something exciting, or learning something or growing? In order to feel security, do you need to have everything under control? Do you have to do you have to be financially free, financially independent, or have no debt, or in order to feel honesty, do you have to, how would you feel honesty? What needs to happen?
Can I share my example?
Yeah, sure.
I think let's do that. So you guys, this is my real actual example of my values. So we call it the rules. So in order for me to feel my number one value of security, I need to feel protected and not jealous. This was my old value. Can I just keep saying that? Rank number two was love. My value of love was second to security. And in order for me to feel love, I needed to have physical affection and attention. And number three was happiness. So basically the rule was, in order for me to feel happiness, my life had to be perfect. So these are the rules that we create.
And we might find at this point that the rules, in order to feel these values, are incredibly difficult or ambiguous or unclear, right? Which means we start to set up a situation where it's almost impossible to feel these values that are so important to us.
Well, they're so specific that it's so rare that it happens to us on a daily occurrence. Has everybody ranked theirs and provided the rules? Everyone's got their rules?
Okay. So, Cass, if you don't mind, since you have been so open and quick in putting these up, we might just have a look at these as we go through as an example. And it's at this point that I'd like to mention that right here, we're looking at these values that are coming up as our top values and saying, yeah, that makes sense. How is this a problem for me? Why is this a problem for me? These are my values. And then as we go into understanding the reasons why they're important, we're going to go a little bit deeper into that right now. And then it's going to lead us into the very next part. So when we talk about honesty, we want to look into those values and see if there's any contradictions in there. And what we do to look at that is by, if we look at Cass, it's important as it reflects who I am. Okay. Which essentially means dishonesty is not who you are. True? So it means then that it's so important, your identity as an honest person, that what is fueling this move towards honesty is actually you moving away from dishonesty. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Does everyone kind of get that little thing there? Okay. Because quite often it's more powerful for us to move away from what's painful, what we don't want, than towards what we do want.
So for my example here, for love, so in order for me to feel love, I needed to have physical affection or attention. So what I'm actually moving away from was being ignored or being neglected. Can you see how those rules have set it up that I can't feel love when I'm, well, let me rephrase that. I'm turning myself inside out here. So this rule, in order to feel love, I have to have physical affection and attention. What I'm actually moving away from, what I'm avoiding, is neglect or abandonment or being ignored.
And security, to feel protected and not jealous is creating a rule that's almost impossible to fulfill, because how
do I define that rule of feeling protected? What does that mean?
Right. And it means like jealousy is something that comes up, and to say, oh God, if I feel jealous, that means I'm not secure. So I don't want to feel jealousy. Well, sorry, but you can't control that. And when we try and avoid something, that's when it comes up to the surface.
So then my value of security is no longer a top value of security, but it's an away from value of jealousy.
Right.
So it's like, well, as long as I don't feel jealous, then I'll feel secure.
Right. So it's a towards value, and security looks like a positive things to move towards. But when you go into it and ask yourself, well, how much of this is actually me moving away from pain, moving away, avoiding the feeling of being insecure or being betrayed, for instance. So I want you guys to look at that now in your top two and start to think, oh, well, how much of this is me actually moving away from the counterpart? You see, Cass, what I would like to see in others, it's important for me to model to my children. Okay, right. So, I mean, and this is for you to answer, not for me to answer, but would you say that there's any part in there for you that is, it's important for you to not model dishonesty to your children? Great. That's nice. That's really nice. That's a nice realization there. Okay. Does everyone get this? It's okay if you don't. That's the point. Does everyone start to understand that sometimes the things we're moving towards, we're not actually moving towards, but we're simply moving towards them because it's the opposite. It's what we're trying to avoid.
Let's move forward.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, why is there an issue with trying to avoid something? Like, I try to avoid being dishonest. So a value of mine is being very open and honest. So why is that a problem?
Great
So
question.
the focus now is dishonesty, because you're saying I'm avoiding dishonesty. In order for me to be open and honest, I'm focusing on avoiding dishonesty. And that is how our brain, our subconscious mind, starts to play tricks, because now it's no longer I'm focusing on honesty and openness. It's I don't want dishonesty.
Yes, but isn't that turning, like, one of my beliefs is turning a negative into a positive? So I would rather view it as, instead of avoiding dishonesty, which is a negative thing, I take the positive spin on it and go, I model and want to exude honesty, rather than focusing on avoiding dishonesty. I'm focusing on the more positive.
So there's, let's take for instance, there's a client that I worked with whose father left when he was very young, and the pain that was caused by that was so great that the decision that he made was to always be there for his children, to never cause that pain that he experienced from his dad. Right, which led him obviously to moving into a direction. We learn two things from our parents: either what to do or what not to do. Right. Some kids experience a father who was an alcoholic and who was physically abusive. There was so much pain involved that the decision then is, I will never drink alcohol again in my life, because I would never want to inflict that pain on other people. Me, for instance, I experienced so much anger from my father that I made a decision that it was so painful that I would never wanted to inflict that type of pain on someone either. So I decided I would never be angry. So I did whatever I needed to do to push that anger inside and disown it. And it became like a festering poison that I was avoiding inside me, right? So some would say, you would look at it from the outside and say, that's not a bad thing, right? You don't want to be angry because you don't want to lose your temper, you don't want to hurt people. Someone experiences a drunk father and chooses to never drink alcohol. That's a positive thing. It's good in every way. And that's true. But it's still a decision that's made based on the pain that was experienced, right? Which means that the anger, the feeling of abandonment, the feeling of hurt was the cause of the decisions to go the other way. So it's still the thing that's controlling the decisions.
It's still the thing that's controlling the value.
It's still the things that control the value. So at that point, do you get that?
I do, but to me, it's the way you're describing it makes it seem like it's more of an doing it based on that. Whereas to me, that's just a logical consequence. It's like you put your hand on a hot stove, you get burnt. You learn not to do that. Like, that's a positive thing. It was a negative experience, so you take something positive from it and don't put your hand on the stove again. So that's, I don't know, it's kind of a learning thing.
And I think the next part of this values activity, I think we'll be able to make a better comparison and understand better why honesty is the number one value for you. And this is the thing, it might be when we dive in and we look at these values, I can tell you my values completely changed. My top 3 were completely different. The ranking and the, you know, security went all the way down lower. But the reasons why and the focus was different. So let's do the next part, and then we can come back and do the comparisons, and we'll see. So let's move on. So we've looked at our present up to now, our towards values. Now we're looking at the away from values.
All right. So flipping the script now. And what we're going to do here is what has been important for you to avoid feeling. Okay. So the last activity we did with the towards values is going to be quite, it's going to shine a bit of a light on this, because it's going to show you that I want you to feel here, what are the things that have been most important for you to avoid feeling, that you would avoid feeling at all costs. I want you to write those down, same way as you did before, as many as you can.
Okay, sorry to be a pain, but I'm struggling with this one. Can you explain it a little bit more? What has been important for you to avoid feeling? Avoid feeling what?
What values have you avoided feeling? So things like dishonesty you've avoided in your life. Things like, for me, it was
right.
Things like
Gotcha.
Yeah, they might. Some of them might be the opposites to the other ones you've written.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Loneliness,
Disrespect,
sadness, anger, guilt.
Well, yeah.
Lots.
Yeah.
The feelings. Yeah.
And when you come to a block, I want you to pause for a second and then ask yourself, what else have I avoided feeling in my life?
I had some pretty good ones. Betrayal. I had ugliness. Exclusion. Jealousy. Guilt. Depression. Interesting headspace 2 years ago.
And ask yourself one more time when you come to a block, what else has been important for me to avoid feeling? Just finish it off. Okay, once you finish that, I'm going to go through and rank them. So we want to get the top 5.
And remember a quick test. In the past, which of these feelings would I do more to avoid? I would avoid sadness or guilt. Which one overranks the other?
And once you get your top 5, I want you to just write them in the comments.
Oh, you've got some good ones, Andrew. We're a very honest bunch of people. Everyone's got honesty as their top value. I love it. We're all so honest. I love it.
We're also scared of being dishonest. All right.
Okay. We've got our ranks, everybody.
Contentment, heartbreak, broken, hopelessness, jealousy, sadness. Okay. Simon, contentment, complacency, stillness, loneliness, guilt. Leanne, disrespect, dishonesty, betrayed, loneliness, hurt. Tony Ann, betrayed, scared, rejected, alone, trapped. Wow. Surprising for anyone? Interesting? Thought-provoking? All right. Let's go to the next one. And I want you to take those top 5 and just and write them in a grid similar to what you saw before. And with the 1, and we'll start with number 1, and we'll do 1 and 2. Number 3, 4, and 5 will be your homework. But really, we can get a really good understanding of this just from the top 2. So write those top 2 in there, and then we want to write a couple of words about why these have been important for you to avoid. And if you wanted to go ahead and type them straight into the chat box and copy them into your desktop, you can do that, or you can write them by hand. Simon, if you want to write some of these, if you want to write yours in for contentment, we can have a look at them, if that's what you want. Because I see a bit of an interesting contradiction there. Just a couple words or sentences about why it's been so important for you to avoid these things. Okay. Great. Good. While we're in the space, we want to go straight into the rules.
So the rules.
Great. Thanks, Simon.
What has to happen in order for you to feel this way? So, Leanne, in order for you to feel disrespected, what needs to happen?
Leanne, in order for you to feel betrayed, what needs to happen? And what I want you to think about is stretch yourself here to feel really be honest here and say, how little evidence do I need in order to feel that? You know, like, Leanne, what's the smallest thing that can happen for you to feel disrespected? And what I'd encourage you to do is to kind of use the phrasing, anytime that somebody, okay, anytime I think about, anytime I remember, okay, because this is often how we set things up inside ourselves. We say, you know, at the very drop of a hat, I'm ready to feel heartbroken or disrespected.
So this is my real example. So for me, number one was betrayal. And what had to happen for me to feel this is to be cheated on, to be lied to or disrespected. So anytime anyone lied to me, I felt that feeling of betrayal. Anytime I felt disrespected in whatever way, I felt betrayal. If I ever felt insecure, I felt that away from value of jealousy. If I felt threatened. And to feel depressed, I just needed to think about the past. I needed to regret something that I did. I needed to compare.
Okay, so if I go a little bit deeper into that and explore that, we say, okay, what were your rules on what being cheated on was?
Well, the rules of being cheated on were if my partner looked at a girl the wrong way, or if he was messaging somebody and like ended the sentence with a kiss or something ridiculous.
What were your rules for you to know that you'd been lied to or disrespected? Were these rules clear for you?
It was a feeling that came from me, and it was really easy to feel this way. It was really, really easy for me to feel lied to because it didn't even really need to be true. It's as long as I felt lied to, then I would feel betrayed.
So you've got in betrayed there, you got three things that have to happen in order for you to feel betrayed. That all seem pretty vague and that aren't very measurable and that could happen really at any moment.
Yeah, from anyone, really.
So tell me something. If
You're going to ask me about my top value, aren't you?
Yes.
We go back to my top value.
So if you were to feel disrespected and feel betrayed, you've just fulfilled your top away from value. So you've just felt the thing that you most want to avoid feeling in your life.
The number one thing that I'm trying not to feel.
So if you felt that, would that impede, you think, your ability to feel security, protected?
Well, it conflicts directly with that feeling of security because betrayal and security are almost opposite feelings.
Right.
Right. Security is one thing and betrayal is something else.
So your rules to feel protected, do you even know what it means to feel protected?
I don't really know. It was really hard. It's really hard looking at this now to even understand how or what needed to happen for me to feel protected. It was really hard. It's really hard to not be jealous.
Right, to not be
To
jealous.
not be
Hey, everyone, don't think about a pink elephant right now. Right? It's very impossible to not think about something, to not feel something, to not, right? So basically what we're getting at here is, and we've used Moret as an example, the rules that she had set up in her top values. One, security. In order to feel that value of security,
which is my number
which
one
is number
thing.
one value.
It's all I want to feel. It's all I want in my life.
If Moret doesn't feel security, then life is not going well. And the rules that she had set up on an unconscious level in order to feel security or secure were almost impossible to fulfill. Does everyone get that? On the other hand, her away values, which were a direct conflict with her towards value, number one was betrayal. And the rules that she had set up in order for her to feel that thing that she's most avoiding are so easy to accomplish.
So easy. And also, I just noticed there myself, my number one thing was security and not feeling jealous. Number two here, away from value, is jealousy. But it's really easy for me to feel jealous here with these away from values. It's really easy to feel threatened. It's really easy to feel insecure. So I was fulfilling that, which meant it was impossible for me to achieve my number one value of security.
So let me ask you guys something. Considering all of these values were unconscious for Moret before she did this activity, considering all of your values were unconscious to you before this activity, and just by looking, and we should put this side by side for next time.
Sorry.
They need to be sorry. Let me just ask you, from your opinion, guys.
Oh, you guys.
How fulfilled is this person? What does this person's life feel like and look like?
This person.
Well, it's not you.
It's like when my mum looked at me and said, someone's in trouble. Yeah, someone. Some vague someone.
It's definitely not you anymore. That person, whoever that person is, how happy is that person? How fulfilled is that person? What do you think? If one of you guys were to create a little story about this person and about what their life looks like, what would they look like? What would it look like? What would day-to-day look like? What would their relationship look like? They are fulfilled because they're conflicted within themselves. Absolutely. Guys, who here now, looking at both their lists, can see any conflict? Tony Ann. Leanne.
Andrew.
Who wants to talk about their conflict? Or who wants to talk about this at all? So we can go a little bit deeper.
I can talk.
Andre,
about myself.
Go ahead, man.
Where are we? I think I was striving for acceptance and accepting myself, forgiving myself, be honest to myself, be honest to others of who I am inside, what I feel.
Yeah.
on the one side and
Slow,
trying to be healthy.
slow down 1 second. We're just going to stick with the values, just the word. Honesty, security,
Yes.
health, connection, success. Okay?
Hmm.
And the away from was guilt,
Guilt,
shame,
shame,
anger,
anger,
comparison,
comparison,
fear.
fear. Completely opposite sides.
Completely opposite. Okay.
And it's like it's creation of big duality in my life. Like I try to like chasing all like positive sides, but I didn't work on my like negative sides, and I didn't heal my past and my past decisions and my past relationships and anger what I didn't express, and feelings what I didn't express to people what like been bullied in school, like, and have rejected by women, and like not as didn't build connection with my father, and I think if I cannot work on my away values, I cannot build anything. Like obviously now it's changed my towards values, but if I cannot heal my past, how I can build my future?
Right.
Wow.
And it's big conflict. You like two steps forward, 3 steps back, and it's like for last couple of years it was not no much change. So only like now I feel it.
This is a big session, guys. So we are. It's so important that we are actually going to split this over 2 calls.
Yep.
So there's nothing that we want you to do with this information. We don't want you changing any values. We don't want you doing anything else other than just to finish your top 5 for both the towards values and the away from values. And next week we're going to dive in and kind of do some more work with it.
Have a look a little bit more at what they mean. So by the end of this session, by the end of this week, what you should have is 2 of those columns, similar to what you saw from Murat's example. So that last part was for those top 3 away from, you want to figure out what the rules are. So what needs to happen in order for you to feel those away values, whatever they may be. Heartbreak, guilt, betrayal, disrespect. Right, Leanne, anytime someone ignores me, I feel disrespected. Any lies are disrespectful. Okay, so look at that. It's very easy for you to feel disrespected because it's literally anytime someone ignores me. You know, hands up anyone who's ever thought that someone was ignoring them. You know, you send a text and they don't reply for a day or 2 days. You think, oh, they're ignoring me. Just the thought pops into your head, right? If your top value, your top away from value is disrespected, and the rules that you set up, Leanne, are so easy to fulfill. That means that thing that you are most trying to avoid in your life is actually the thing that you are most living in. Because you are focused on it, because you are focused on the pain of being disrespected. So you're focused on people ignoring you. You're focused on people lying to you. You're focused on dishonesty. If you see dishonesty, it triggers you into feeling disrespected. So that's the space, that's the place that you're living in. When you focus on something, you get it. The car we bought today.
Yes, we bought a car, everybody.
I'd never seen the car before in my life, right? I'd never seen the type, the model, the make, anything like that. Yet when we're driving home, I'm spotting them like raccoons, right? And that's what happens. Does that ever happen? A friend of yours has bought a car that you've never even seen before, and then all of a sudden you're seeing everywhere on the road? It's Because whatever you focus on, you find. And this is unconscious, remember that. Being disrespected and lied to makes me feel unloved, hurt, and betrayed. Right? So unhurt.
Let's have a look at Leanne's towards values. Love. So you're immediately not feeling your number one value. So immediately.
You see, and to feel love, I need to feel my other top values: honesty, respect, and kindness.
It's very difficult. It's almost impossible.
It's very difficult because you got to feel that no, they're not lying to you, they're respecting you, and they're being kind to you. They're not ignoring you. They're not lying to you.
And that's the only time you can feel love. So, guys, that's kind of all we want you to do this session, and that's kind of the homework. Finish your 5 values, away from and towards, and just look at that. Look how hard it is to actually fulfill your towards values, the values that you are striving so hard towards. How hard it is to fulfill that, how your rules have made it so difficult for you to fulfill that, and how easy it is to feel you're away from values.
And how conflicted they are. Look for conflicts, all right? Which says,
is like, all right,
if I feel one thing, then I feel these away from values. And as soon as I feel any of those away from values, even at the smallest level, it completely makes it impossible to feel any of the towards values, right? So Leanne, Simon, Tony Ann, Cass, Andre, thank you guys for being open. Now, of course, we're here to discuss this and go through this, but this is supposed to feel a little bit awkward. I'd like this to feel awkward.
I like that. Tony Ann's like that.
All week.
Yep.
All right. So, Leanne, some big ones there for you. Cass, I know we didn't get back around, but you got a call coming up with Miranda.
We got a call tomorrow.
Too. But Leanne, there's a great one there, great conflicts there that we found. So everyone, can you see that for Leanne up until now, it's very possible that she may have been living a life with feeling very little love, not very loved, not very respected, right? And we can see how is that true, Leanne? Of course, yeah. So Leanne's going to have her moment to experience this and to become aware of this.
Yeah, I remember when I did this, I broke down pretty bad because I saw that I had actually been creating and kind of ensuring that I was constantly living in that shitty state and driving away from what I actually wanted to feel.
Not actually feeling what you want to feel. So, there we go. Do whatever you need to do to understand and feel that. And like we said, Leanne is brilliant and brave and open, and she's going to feel what she needs to feel. This is not always easy when you start to have these realizations, but it's important. And everyone here is.
Yeah.
That was great.
Everyone's round of applause.
Everyone give Leanne's thumb a clap.
Yeah.
Great stuff, guys. All of those values can be found within this group, and I'm so happy that we have this connection here. And next week we're going to finish that off.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so
you're going to find some much more empowering values. You might just literally rearrange your values. We're going to talk about all of that next week, because those values are wonderful. A lot of the towards values are really beautiful and wonderful, and sometimes we just have to really be clear as to why they're there and why we want them there.
By the way, my number one towards value, just to finish off, if I can share this with you, turned out to be numbness. That was the thing I was moving towards most in my life. could you imagine what type of life I was living? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Reach out,
Love the
send
hand.
messages, let us know, and
Yeah.
book your calls, and we'll go into a bit deeper.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Speak later. Bye.